Good evening. We were supposed to come out here and read the winner, but instead, I've decided to speak from the heart.
What? Why'd you rip the envelope?
I don't know. I was in the moment. I got overwhelmed.
Now how are we going to know who the winner is?
Oh, my God, I shouldn't have done that. Should we just make it up?
No, I don't think we can do that.
The winner is La La Land.
No.
Hello, and welcome to the Euro What, episode number 54 for the week of June 3rd, 2019. I'm Ben Smith, and I'm joined today by Mike McComb. Hey, Mike.
Hey.
And our special guest, Maura Johnston. Hey, Maura.
Hi.
We are a group of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest, and this week we will be talking about Madonna. Happy June, everybody. We made it. It's the summer now. We've had a couple weeks off to kind of think about what happened at Eurovision, form larger thoughts, think about things, etc.
Well, you would think that we would have had 2 weeks, but yeah, it just seems like there's still news trickling out of Tel Aviv about what's been going on. but first, let's welcome Maura back to the show.
Yes, welcome back.
Thanks. It's great to be back. I'm very excited. I enjoyed this year's grand final a lot, although I will say I was disappointed by the outcome, even though it was very predictable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really into this whole subgenre of entertainment where somebody is doing one thing, but then is a dentist in their real life.
Yes.
Because like that happened. I watched Eurovision a couple of Saturdays ago, and then the following Saturday I watched a wrestling promotion that had a woman who won a match who was a dentist.
Really?
Time, but also a wrestler. Yes.
Huh.
Just the secret lives of dentists worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Awesome.
Makes me wonder what I should ask my dentist next time I go in for cleaning. What have you been up to lately?
Just like, what are your hobbies?
But more like, what are your hobby?
Yes.
Fingers will be in my mouth.
Yeah, I had a cleaning just last week, and it didn't even occur to me to ask. It's like, so what sort of international competition are you taking part in?
What's your favorite competitive hobby?
Yes. Oh, but who were you rooting for?
Well, I really liked Norway. I mean, obviously, like Iceland. I really did like San Marino. I liked Norway quite a bit, and I did have a sort of like soft spot for North Macedonia because she just seemed so excited every time she got votes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was like a brief moment in the scoring, like before we got like all of the public votes from like, oh wow, like anything can happen and it might not be the Netherlands.
Yeah, it really did seem as if the possibility was wide open until the public votes started coming in, and then you were like, oh, right, I'm watching American Idol, and this guy's Lee DeWise.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
meaner.
that guy.
That's probably a little mean, but maybe he's more of a David Cook type, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's really
I like
going into
David
the
Cook.
vault, and it doesn't feel like it should be, but it's also just kind of weird because this year it's like not only was it really wide open, but it just seems like the scores are still changing even 2 weeks out.
Nothing is quite nailed down yet, and it's June.
Yeah, we had talked in our last episode about how the Belarusian jury was dismissed for chatting about how they had voted during the semifinals. And when the jury votes came in during the grand final, everybody just kind of went, when they saw like, wow, 12 points to Israel. That's unexpected. And yeah, it turns out that somebody did hit the wrong sort button on Excel. And rather than giving the 12 points to the top act, they gave 12 points to the bottom act. The EBU corrected the scores, and that really shook up the score table in weird and exciting ways. So, first of all, North Macedonia ended up winning the jury vote after all.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was great for North Macedonia. It improved their standing. They were 8th originally and then got bumped up to 7th place. So that's an even better best finish ever for them. Sweden also ended up moving up in the total. So they finished 5th overall. That pushed Norway down to 6th, which a lot of people were already really unhappy that the winner of the public vote was not the winner of Eurovision. So this did not calm them down. And it also has created a weird situation where this is the first time that the winner of the jury vote and the winner of the public vote, neither one of them made the top 5, which almost sounds like it should be mathematically impossible, but that's not the case. And then there were other shakeups like in the mid-range of the scoreboard. Cyprus, Malta got bumped up to 13th and 14th. Slovenia and France got knocked down to 15th and 16th. And San Marino got bumped up to 19th. So they also had a better best finish ever. Israel ended up with 0 points from the juries, since their only points were the 12 that they thought they got from Belarus. So that's unfortunate.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not the first time that the home team has gotten 0 points, although when Austria did it, that was before they'd split the vote.
Right. I guess they didn't have to go through the, I don't know, embarrassment or like
of dealing with that live on air.
Right, exactly. So it's still awkward. And then UK also ended up losing points. So they were already in last place. And then there were the headlines being like, oh, our last place entry finished even worse than we thought. So UK does not have a sense of humor about this, I'm discovering.
No.
Nope.
There's still reports of voting confusion happening with the juries. There have been reports of jurors in both semifinals accidentally voting in ascending fashion instead of descending fashion. So like their what they thought they were giving top points to, they were giving bottom points to. It was,
I want to know like what that form looks like. Like whether, I don't know if it's a web form, if it's like an actual piece of paper, but like whatever it is, the design needs to be fixed.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least just like a star and something that says your favorite goes here.
Yeah, I mean, especially because they're ranking all 26. It's not just them picking, these are my 10 favorites, and then just putting like 1 through 10 or whatever, or like 12 points next to whichever one is their favorite. They're going to need to figure that out. And then Italy's broadcaster published what they said their televote was in the second semifinal, and it did not match what the EBU said the Italian televote was. And considering how close the like cutoff was, like Lithuania missed out on the making the final by a single point, and that confusion just kind of led to, was Lithuania supposed to be in the final? And the EBU has come out and said that the result that the EBU published is the result that they are going with, and Italy's broadcaster might be using sort of like the pre-verified televote, like before taking out bad votes or votes that came in after the voting window. Kind of a mess. Mm-hmm. I'm worried that it's interfering with Jan Olasson's Margarita Beach time. So I'm hoping that all of this stuff has been resolved and these are like the final results. It's been 2 weeks. So
it's been 2 weeks. On the other hand, the fact that we have reported this means that whatever is still kind of hanging out will drop in like 12 minutes after we get done releasing the episode. So on the plus side, it'll be done then.
Maybe. Yeah. Fingers crossed, Hungary. That's all I've got.
I have continued watching Hatari for any exciting news on that front. They've been doing like a little homecoming victory lap tour, which is great. One of the things we had noted during selection season was how much children love Hatari. And as it turns out, there is an Icelandic Kids' Choice Awards, and Hatari won 2 awards. They sent Einar to pick them up, which was great. His acceptance speech was very short.
Yeah, the video and like there are GIFs, of course, because it's the internet. But it's just delightful, and the kids just look so happy just to be in the presence
of one third of Hatari.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
It's great. Definitely seek it out.
Mm-hmm.
It is well worth the 5 minutes it takes to watch and try to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, the reference group for Eurovision is going to be determining if Iceland is like fined or doesn't get to participate next year because of Hatari's actions in the green room at their next meeting. So more news to come on that at some point.
Speaking of news, Billboard magazine was doing some Eurovision wrap-up stuff in their May 25th edition, so from a couple weeks ago. And in their Ask Billboard Anything section, the question came up is if Eurovision is getting too political. And they asked a couple of guys from a podcast what they thought about it. And
Yep, us. It's still very wild to me. If your local newsstand does not sell Billboard, as it turns out mine does not, check your local library's magazine app. If they have a subscription to Billboard, we are in the Ask Billboard Anything column, talking about how political this year was.
Yes, and good luck trying to find a newsstand. Yeah, it did not occur to me until this thing happened. It's like, this is a real scavenger hunt.
Print media is dying.
Yeah. It's been about a week and a half, and yeah, still haven't got our hands on a hard copy yet. So if you see one, let us know where you found it.
The other final bit of news in the 2 weeks since we last convened, the Barbara Dex Awards have happened. The Barbara Dex Awards are, of course, the award for who had the worst outfit, which just feels mean.
See, I understand the objections to Barbara Dex, but I think it does serve an important purpose, because I think what a person is wearing on stage is a representation of the delegation and the overall planning that goes into setting up the performance. Because I think of Belgium's entrant last year, Senek. She was in charge of all of the art direction along with the performing and just kind of doing everything. And I'm not sure if she ultimately chose what she wore, but she was one of the runners up for last year's Barbara Dex Award, and it was not undeserved. And I think it indicates that there's not an editor in the mix in that situation. Although, I don't know, this year was kind of confusing because the winner was Conan Osiris from Portugal, and he wasn't even in my top 5.
No.
I got his costume in the overall sense of his performance. I would understand why nobody would want to go walking down the street wearing that.
Right, but it was very effective stage wear, and I thought it fit in with what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Just looking at the runners-up for this year, we had Cyprus, which I get that. Belarus, which was my pick. Belgium, and North Macedonia, oddly enough. Which, I guess. And speaking of North Macedonia, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, if you would like to get your hands on last year's Barbara Dex winner, it's currently on sale on eBay.
It's, well, let me read the description from the listing. Collector's item! 3 exclamation points. This iconic, one-of-a-kind backwards coat costume worn on the stage of Eurovision Song Contest 2018 by Maria Ivanovska from IQ representing Macedonia. Such a design has appeared only one time in the 64 years history. And the costume underneath is sewn for 2,000 hours. Let's discuss.
I do like that they frame it as the design has only appeared one time in the 64-year history.
Which, true.
I mean, personally, I would pitch this as this is the last stage outfit worn by the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. This is a piece of history.
But there's also the photos of they're pretty detailed photos of what you are getting in this piece, and it really highlights just how horrifying, upsetting. I'm not even sure what word to use to describe the garments. The undergarment thing. It's this. I didn't even realize it was more of a knit piece.
Oh yeah, that was a discovery to me as well.
Yeah, you really get to see the pink under boob detail that was just baffling last year, even from the long shots that they used to film the big reveal. But
the thing I like about it is that the photos have the same quality that I use when I try to sell clothing on eBay.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what you're getting, but also just the fact that the costume underneath is sewn for 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours is a year. If you're working 40 hours a week for 50 weeks, that is 2,000 hours. And it's wow, that is
a lot of hours. That feels like an excessive amount of hours.
It's 0.2 Gladwells.
Oh man,
sorry, I don't even like it.
That's a very good point.
Wow, yeah, the more you think about it, the more you unravel, the more
it looks like it's about ready to unravel.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just to put this in perspective, this is available for the low price of $5,000 US. Which does not include the $113 in shipping from Macedonia.
We'll have a link to it in our show notes
in case you would like a piece of history.
Yes.
Which
also, you can do the installment plan of $2,009 a month for 24
for 2 years.
Oh,
so,
okay.
You can have that paid off by Eurovision in 2021.
Exactly. Killer outfit to your party.
It would be the perfect cosplay. So, oh, now I'm tempted. All right, we should move on. One of the big things that happened at this year's Eurovision was Madonna performing as one of the interval acts. And Maura, you are a Madonna expert.
I am. I'm working on a book about her.
Ooh.
For Hanover Square Press. I think it's going to be published in late 2020. It's due in February. So I've been studying her very intently. And she's, in the run-up to release Madam X, her first album since Rebel Heart, which came out back in 2015. And this album, she's talked about as her Portugal Soccer Mom album. I don't know if you'd think Portugal Soccer Mom when you saw the performance during Eurovision.
No.
But it's very informed by her being out and about in Europe, and specifically continental Europe as opposed to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And it has lots of collaborators, including Quavo, who came by to perform the song Future with Madonna at the grand final. And then Maluma is on the lead single Medellin, which I really like. Actually, it's kind of one of the better lead Madonna singles from an album that came out in the 2000s, the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
But it is another song that's oh, here I am with a collaborator, Give Me All Your Lovin', which had MIA and Nicki Minaj. And then Justin Timberlake and Timbaland were on 4 Minutes to Save the World, which I still think the sample sounds like the Price is Right theme. But
yes.
That's what you're hearing.
Yes, I can hear that now.
But she is using sort of, more interesting collaborators. One thing I think that's interesting about Madonna, and this is something that I'm going to write about in the book, is that she's been really always adept at finding the space between superculture and subculture and finding those niches of subculture that will best thrive in superculture. And I think that the internet sort of collapsing that distinction really made her flail a lot and work with the big names. And also, obviously the deal that she signed with Live Nation Entertainment, which wound up being Interscope Records, that helped as well, where, Interscope as a label is very, very hits forward as opposed to Sire and Warner, which are more artist forward. But, Sway Lee from Ray Shermerd is also on the record. And the Brazilian singer-songwriter Anitta is also on the album.
Okay.
And then Maluma's on 2 songs. A lot of it is collaborations with Mirwais, who was the producer that she worked on music. He worked on American Life, and he worked on a song on Confessions on a Dance Floor. So it's nice that she's going back to even those roots. I mean, American Life, I don't think it's in the top half of the Madonna catalog, but it's definitely a very uniquely Madonna record. And so I think that she's trying to get back to that place where she's not as beholden to it might have been last year or 2017, but, she went on Instagram and started complaining about songwriting camps, which are, the sessions where songwriters will write for an artist and then that artist will pick the song. She's she likes being involved in her process a lot more. I'm interested in this record. I'm reviewing it for the Boston Globe. I have not received a copy of it yet, but I'm very, very curious because it's apparently a concept album. Hence Madam X.
Yes,
hence
I have seen
patch.
the promo video clip where she's walking through who Madam X is.
A secret agent, a dancer, a professor, a head of state, a housekeeper, an equestrian, a prisoner, a student, a mother, a child, a teacher, a nun, a singer, a saint, a whore, a spy in the house of love.
And a Portuguese soccer mom, it turns out.
And a Portuguese soccer mom, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing about Madonna is that she has always contained multitudes. And those multitudes have definitely, influenced pop in a huge way over the past almost 4 decades now.
Well, yeah, and she kicked off the Eurovision performance with A Prayer, which was celebrating its 30th anniversary.
Yeah, that album turned 30 earlier this year, and still a really great album. I reviewed that record for Pitchfork, and one thing I was really struck by was how so much of the rhetoric around that album was about Madonna, being confessional. It was very sort of the singer-songwriter trope, because it was right after she had gotten divorced from Sean Penn. And it has a lot of very personal lyrics on it. But it was funny to sort of see Madonna, who, at the time was, peak Madonna, was 1989. And for her to sort of get now she's a singer-songwriter and she's confessional treatment. It's very funny. But songs like Oh Father is a very raw Madonna song. And she has the collaborations with Prince, and then she has, Cherish, which is really sort of fun. But then there's the title track, which has sort of become her calling card, I think, over the last couple of years. Like a Prayer, and it's a great song. She performed it at the Met Ball last year, which was the Catholic-themed Met Ball.
Mm-hmm.
And she performed it at this Eurovision in a way that was not very Catholic.
No.
Yeah. I mean, she's always been about subverting religion. And so, well, what did you think of it?
I had such an interesting experience going back and rewatching the performance for this show because I remember watching the performance in the moment and just thinking the vocals were very bad.
They were.
They were not great. And then going to the version on her Vivo, I do not know what kind of magic was performed, but it sound like, I don't know if that was just additional auto tuning or if it was just like a separate track and it was just something with the arena, but like it sounded much better in the version on her Vivo, which great. That's, it's a promotional tool.
I was a little thrown off because they interviewed her in the green room.
Oh yeah,
before the performance.
Yeah.
And
that interview was super, super awkward.
Was super awkward and was just kind of, I didn't love what she had to say to the artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was just coming from, like, it really felt like it was coming from a place of condescension or, like, I don't know, I guess an American attitude toward Eurovision where it's like, oh, isn't this cute? Or like, and it's just like, there are some very established artists, like just because they're not like huge in America, like they are huge in their home countries. And it just kind of set the tone in a weird way.
Well,
and
it set kind of a sour note going into that performance, and then you also had
and then there was the sour
with
note
Quavo,
where
he did not seem he seemed to have just sort of been trucked into the venue and did not really know what was going on or where he was.
I mean, he's not necessarily contributing much to the actual to the overall performance. It's just mostly being kind of hype man for the song.
Yeah.
So he's being thrown into this venue to collaborate on this performance, but it's just like it's just adding salt, I guess, not really adding a whole bunch of flavor to whatever's going on.
Yeah, well, I think that's the function of like cameos on these Madonna albums of recent vintage too, because like you can't overshadow her because she's Madonna, but at the same time, like she is trying to go into this really uncharted territory for 60-year-old women by, putting out records that are trying to get airplay on pop stations, which are ever more youth obsessed and also, very like male skewing too. I mean, Ariana Grande is sort of the exception to the rule, and I guess Taylor Swift to a lesser extent, but even Taylor Swift's, single has been sort of like bobbing along. But in the past couple of years, you've had like Ed Sheeran and the Chainsmokers and like, that's sort of like very bro-y, bent to pop music. So she's going in there and she's, risking a lot of ridicule. But at the same time, like there is sort of a cringe factor. And I definitely felt it when because like the vocal melody of the verses of Like a Prayer, like is so essential to sort of like the build of the song. And that there were those like notes that she wasn't hitting that, where it was like, she was like a half step off. I was just very uncomfortable for her.
Yeah.
Cause this is like her song, it's like one of her signature songs. And it wasn't like the Like a Virgin rework that she did on the Blonde Ambition tour where it was like in a different key or anything, that vocal melody still needed to hit.
Right.
Yeah. I have to wonder if it might have just been like a rehearsal issue or just like a general sound
problem.
Issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause, and like there were a lot of people who were complaining about sound issues throughout like the rehearsal process and like the in-ear monitors and such. And I can't imagine that she was nervous about that performance. And particularly in that room, like that room is there for Madonna.
Right. Yeah.
It feels like it was much more of a like technical mishap than.
I mean, singing on live TV this is something that I think, we like because it happens so often, but singing on live TV is tough, because there are so many factors and like something can sound really good in the arena and really crap on TV or vice versa.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think of SNL all the time because people complain about the sound mix on SNL, and it's like, no, that's a tough room to sing in.
It was a weird performance because I mean, obviously, like Madonna being at Eurovision, the BDS movement was not happy about her being there. Obviously, she has ties to Judaism through her, Kabbalah interests and everything. And it was so fraught, but it kind of reminded me of like the old Madonna controversies, The like a prayer video with the stigmata, or the Justify My Love video with everything, or the sex book or whatnot. But it was like this kind of like weird, uncomfortable 21st century update to like Madonna stepping in and being like, hey.
Yeah, because like there was like an interview that popped up like right before the contest where she's like, no, nothing can hold me back. I'm going to perform. You can't stop me from performing.
Yeah,
like, okay.
you can't stop
you also
me.
got like a very large check to be there. So
Right. I mean, there's politics, and then there's cash.
Mm-hmm.
Money talks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how about like the second half of the performance? I thought like the kind of interlude to bridge the songs was a little weird. I'm wondering if that's something that's going to appear on the album. I hope it is, just because
about the Supreme hoodies. Yeah,
just
that
like
was
just like when as
also
everybody
very
like took off their
strange.
big monk robes and revealed gas masks.
I don't know. I mean, you know, I read one site that sort of like analyzes pop music and other cultural phenomenon through like the sort of end times prophesizing, just as like a way to kind of get a bead on, you know, how the messages that are being sent out are being received. And like, I think that there is a lot of just like apocalyptic imagery in general in pop music, like from, and just like, you know, also just like weird stuff. Like the first thing I thought of was Katy Perry's Bon Appetit video, where the climax is like everybody's eating her. Mm-hmm. So it's not even like Don't Come Around Here No More, which was, you know, the Tom Petty video where everybody ate Alice in Wonderland as a cake. You know, there's lots of like, this site really goes in on like, oh, the checkerboard floor means Illuminati, or like the one eye. And obviously like, you know, she's wearing the eye patch that has X on it for this.
That's making me think of, and this is a very Boston reference, Trash Night had like a video in their pre-roll for ages that was just showing all the Illuminati, the influence in Super Mario 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. And like just in the style of those of like YouTube videos that are over the top and going, everything is the Illuminati.
But Mistress Dita, her character from Erotica, also wore an eye patch, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So, and so like whenever an artist starts dabbling in this, like, you know, I grew up listening to metal. And so like, I'm like, okay, well, is this like satanic metal thing where it's like, what's the baddest ass stuff that we can do right now? Mm-hmm. And I guess against all odds, I guess Satan and his minions are still kind of badass. I don't know.
Yeah.
The jury's out. But I just feel like it's, you know, it is, once you read the site, it's called The Vigilant Citizen. I feel weird like even mentioning it, but it's just like it's like very strange. And
are we on a list now, or
I don't know, yeah, can you like backmask me saying that?
Yeah. I'll distort your voice there.
Distort my voice, blur my voice.
Yeah.
But you know, but I think that there is like I don't know if it's like a paucity of imagination or an agenda. You know, that's how clumsily it's often employed. And I felt like that was the case with Future, the performance by Madonna. You could read the lyrics of Future, like not everybody's coming to the future, not everyone there is going to last. Mm. Like you could definitely see that as, you know, apocalyptic, but I mean, you could also just see that as like your ways, you know, of homophobia and racism and being, you know, bigoted in whatever way are the past as well. Mm-hmm. It's one of those like vague lyrics that stirs up a stadium crowd, and then when you're sitting quietly at home thinking about the show, you're like, what did that mean? What were they talking about?
Yeah. I was looking through the lyrics and it's like, this does sound kind of Eurovision-y in a way. And it's like, wow, this is actually a spot-on song to present there, even though it doesn't immediately appear that way.
Yeah, even though in the moment I was like, this is a choice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of choices, the dancers wearing the Israel and Palestine flags.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice it the first time around. It
Same.
wasn't until like there were all the articles afterwards.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was looking for it that I noticed it.
Same. Subtle. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing too, is like, you know, whenever you see a pop star's performance, like there are always so many details that you have to sort of like comb over and that you might, you know, notice and then like misinterpret just because you're not in the mind of these artists, and like sometimes they're also trying to, you know, mess with you, which Madonna loves doing. Like Madonna is like a total provocateur on every level.
Yeah, and I think maybe that is maybe part of the issue that I had with the performance overall, where it seemed like it wasn't being performed for the people in the room, but it wasn't being filmed in a way that was great for television. So I think it just got really muddied because it just wasn't being performed in a visual way that was beneficial to any one audience. And
I can see that.
Yeah, so like I think a lot of what she was trying to do may have just gotten lost in like poor camera choices or it just wasn't meant for the TV audience. It was meant for the people in the room.
Oh yeah, and like that is an excellent point. Like, because a lot of what we talk about when we look at these Eurovision acts, when we're looking at them for like the third time, is are they doing a good balance of putting on a show for the people in the room and also remembering this is a television program?
Right. And like I didn't get a sense of like her having decided who she's actually performing for. I mean, perhaps she was just treating it as a rehearsal for an upcoming concert for her tour for this album. Just being like, all right, yeah, let's try out a couple of these stage elements, see if that works. And and there's an audience here. Great, whatever. And
so the interesting thing about the tour that she's doing is that the rooms that she's going to be performing in are more similar to the size of the theater where the grand final was held than like the stadiums that she's usually been doing. Like she's performing at BAM in New York. She's performing at the Wang Theater here in Boston. I think she's performing at the Chicago Theater.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's doing like multi-night runs. She's also performing, this was just announced that she's performing at Pride Island, which is like the big like gay pride thing in New York that Kylie Minogue did last year. So shout out to my friends who are going to tell me that Kylie did it first.
Yeah.
I have a couple.
I mean, I was sitting here quietly going, oh, wow, Kylie did that one first. Okay.
Yeah. Our Aussie friends will love that.
But I'm really curious about what that performance is going to be like too, right? Because like it's a totally different audience in so many ways, and yet not. But I'm curious to see like how, you know, and obviously like again, like I've only heard the singles that have been released off the record so far, and apparently it has like a narrative arc and everything. But I'm curious to see how she incorporates this more high concept material into her already existing catalog of utter bangers, and I hope that she plays Deeper and Deeper because that's like the best song.
Yeah.
Let's see, just looking over the other reactions to this, like lots of the music sites just had sort of the normal recap of things and used it as a chance to mention, oh hey, Eurovision. But then you also just have like the wing of people who are convinced that Madonna is here to drag us all into hell. Just like going fully off the rails, including like the Epoch Times, like why have we become numb to demonic entertainment?
Right.
The Epoch Times, which I mostly remember from seeing this weekend while I was in DC, just on the street corner and be like, oh.
Well, I lump that in with the site that I was referring earlier, you know, in terms of like overanalyzing culture in that way. And obviously like the irony of me writing a book about Madonna is that like I wasn't allowed to listen to Madonna as a kid.
Oh, really?
Because my mom, I love you, Mom, if you're listening. But she was super, super Catholic, and she was completely offended by Madonna's name. She thought it was a stage name, and like a virgin and the crucifixes and the rosaries. And yeah, I was not allowed to have a Madonna record in my house for most of my youth. And I grew up in like prime Madonna time.
Right.
I had to like get all my Madonna fix at dancing school, where we would like warm up to the first side of the cassette of True Blue.
Oh, nice.
Totally underrated Madonna
That may be
album,
my
by the
favorite
way.
Madonna album.
It's
but,
so
yeah.
good. Oh man, yeah. So, you know, she's always been, and she's obviously like been playing with, you know, imagery of sex and religion and life and death. Like I remember, I still have the image from the Oh Father video of the little girl praying at the mother's casket, and you get the close up of the thread that's holding the mom's lips together, you know. Intense imagery. And so I think that this performance was definitely a gesture toward that. Also, I apologize to anybody who's going to start seeing like every checkerboard floor and weird one eye gesture in videos, because it ruins the experience a little bit. but keep fighting, keep watching videos, because they are mostly good.
Yeah. Now I'm just gonna seek them out and be like, oh, I didn't even think about it. Yeah.
But the thing is too about like the Medellin video is, I think, is really interesting, because it also has like a lot of references to like her past works. You know, but I don't know if they're deliberate or if it's just like Madonna being Madonna. Like it opens with her like rehearsing in a studio which is, you know, like the hung up video and also just her whole background as a dancer. She's wearing a cowboy hat like she did in music, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
was this performance beneficial for anyone? Like, was Madonna at Eurovision? Like, did she benefit from doing that? Did Eurovision benefit from having Madonna be part of the fold now? Like,
I'm sure Eurovision benefited because Madonna has fans who are very, very devoted. Although I don't know how many of them in the States will do the whole VPN, you know, mishgas. But I think it probably helped them more than it helped her. I'm very curious to see, because the record, Madam X, comes out on the 14th of June. So this week running up to the release of the album is going to be sort of the test of how she's positioning herself, you know, like when the video for Medellin came out, MTV, you know, which was obviously like her hugest champion, they have a bunch of spin-off channels. Some show videos, and then there's one called MTV Live, which used to be MTV HD, which used to be Palladia. And now it mostly shows like Austin City Limits reruns and like the Isle of Wight concert from 2017 or something. But in the 36 hours before the video premiered, they only showed Madonna videos.
oh, wow. Oh.
It was awesome, I gotta say.
Yeah.
It was awesome to just like sit on the couch and like watch Madonna videos. I did it for like 3 hours one day. And then I was like, wow, I just spent 3 hours watching videos. Like, I gotta go to Taco Bell with my friend when she's gonna pick me up, you know? Like, it was very weird. But, you know, but that's also like, I think a sign of her like reliance on old media to promote what she's doing, right? Because like TV is, even though it's HD MTV, you know, but MTV proper did the premiere of the video. And so I'm curious to see like what sort of promo tour she's going to go on. Especially last week we had this kind of like mini pop apocalypse when like Miley Cyrus, Katy Perry, Charlie XCX, Tove Lo, Rosalia, Baby Rexha, and Camila Cabello all released new music. I mean, I'm forgetting one or two people, I'm sure.
There were like a dozen.
There were so many new singles. Yeah. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, cool. Well, let's play Old Town Road again. You know, and so I'm very curious to see just like how the needle moves for her in the Billie Eilish era.
Yeah. What would be the measure of success here? I mean, not just because it's like Madonna like in her 60s, but like just pop music in 2019.
I don't even know. That's the thing. I really don't know. I am a little like flummoxed because I think that anybody who says that they know is lying. I mean, I think for her now, I think it's touring. You know, I think that's why she's doing these theater shows, because this is another reinvention of herself. Like she's, you know, making herself closer to the audience in a sense. The record comes out the same day as the Bruce album, Bruce Springsteen. So that's an interesting, like 35 years on, parallel world sort of thing. I think streaming really favors like hip hop and younger artists. I think a lot of people will buy this record in whatever form. I think that will probably push it over the top to the number one place as far as the album. But as far as the singles, I don't know. I mean, Medellin isn't even on the Hot 100 this week. So I think it's doing well in the dance charts, like dance club songs, you know, like that's her spot. It's number 6 on the dance chart, behind a new song by Rob Thomas and Pink and Dido and Calvin Harris, and someone called Vasi with something called Disco Fries.
Okay.
I'm very curious right now. And that's for the chart of the 8th of June. So
going back to what you had said about like the chart being very male dominated, just looking at the top 10 this week, it's mostly dudes. You have Lil Nas X, you have Ed Sheeran and Justin Bieber, you have the Jonas Brothers. Like on the female side, you have Billie Eilish at number 3 right now. Yeah. You have Taylor Swift at number 9, and you have Ava Max at number 10.
Yeah, and then Normani on the duet with Sam
with Sam Smith.
Yeah. But that song's pretty good.
Agreed.
But yeah, like right now, streaming stats just really favor hip hop songs, and then you have Billie Eilish, who's sort of the outlier. You know, she's great, and she's somebody who I think is very much in the, you know, the sort of like fully formed being mold of Madonna. She even has her own clothing line already.
That was literally what entered my head, was like, already?
Yeah. I don't know what success is here.
Yeah.
I guess success is just like not letting the gross ageism and sexism of the non-music press get you down. And I think she'll definitely succeed in that. And I hope it's a good record. I always want Madonna's albums to be good. Because, like, she's a fun personality to have around.
Yeah. She's always going to generate conversation.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we're here. So
yeah.
And it really is just uncharted territory here, where it's just like, even if she, like, sets the standard, there's not really anybody poised to, like, immediately follow in her footsteps. Yeah, I think it's going to take a while to see what the aftermath is from this experience.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I think that the proof will come probably when she starts doing the live shows in September. Because I think that, you know, the Pride Island is going to be a one-off, but like the whole theater thing, I'm super, super curious about.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Okay, so question for you guys, even though I have not thought about this at all and I'm posing it, which feels dangerous. So, as far as like large-scale artists performing at Eurovision, we have had Justin Timberlake a few years ago, and we've had Madonna. Like, who else would you want to see get the opportunity to perform on that stage?
So when I was planning the trip to Portugal last year, I was secretly checking Beyonce's travel schedule to see if is she going to be in that part of Europe that time of year, and like maybe they'll be able to sneak her in. And I believe that in Ukraine they were trying to get Lady Gaga to happen, and like just were not able to get that to work. Yeah, in terms of like the superstars, that's a tough one.
Elton John.
Ooh, that's a good one. Thinking of if Australia ever wins, like they're going to get Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue, yeah.
Yeah.
Rihanna would be good.
If Iceland ever does win, I would love to see Bjork get some time.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd do it. Like I have a feeling she probably really.
No. She's
but
like,
not
she's
for like
busy
the reasons
doing
you'd
like
expect.
doing like a residency in New York right now. No,
I'm trying to think of like artists that I've seen that have done like really amazing pop arena spectacle shows, you know? I just saw the 1975. I think they'd be great in their performance. You know, even though they are a rock band, Maddie Healy, the lead singer, has this very sort of like lovely, goofy grace about him. And their whole setup is that they have a treadmill on the stage so that he can sort of like look like he's walking past a streetscape while he's, you know, staying still, or also just move really slowly from side to side. And so if the UK ever comes out of the troughs,
yeah,
that could be there.
Yeah, we're going to have a discussion about that later this summer about like what can they do?
Yeah.
How do we fix this broken home?
Get Robbie Williams on the phone ASAP.
Oh yeah,
Angels
Robbie Williams
2.
would probably be another one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like take that. I mean, like there are all those, you know, there's so many. Janet Jackson, she's headlining Glastonbury this year, I think, right?
Oh yeah, something like that.
Spice Girls, like
Spice
they always get
Girls.
rumored every year to like represent the UK, and it's like no, they should. Like,
I feel like that happens every year around the same time that the same two fans ask if Andorra's going to participate next year.
yeah.
So we should investigate if they're the ones who are also asking if it's the Spice Girls.
Yeah. Well, I did see earlier today that Andorra confirmed that they will not be there next year. So
please stop calling.
Yeah.
How did you get this number?
I think if this year's winner ends up generating a lot of clones for entries will be next year, like I could see maybe Tori Amos. No, she did an awesome cover of Rise Like a Phoenix, like because I think she had a show in like Vienna or somewhere in Austria, like the day after Eurovision, and she did a performance of it there, and it was really nice. But yeah, I think she'd probably be baffled by the whole Eurovision experience overall. So,
see, you said this year's winner spawning a lot of clones, and I went right to Ed Sheeran.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
he is at that level.
Yeah.
There were a whole bunch of articles this year about how he wants to write a song for Eurovision.
Well, then why doesn't he?
Do?
The UK is waiting.
Yeah, seriously. He would like save the UK.
That's going to do it for this episode of The Euro What. Thanks for listening. The Euro What podcast is hosted by Mike McComb.
That's me.
And Ben Smith. That's me. Special thanks to our guests this week, Maura Johnston, Maura, where can folks find you online?
You can find me online at maura.com.
You can find us on our website at eurowhat.com and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Eurowhat. We'd love to hear your questions and comments. You can subscribe to the Eurowhat on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or the podcast app of your choice. Rating and reviewing the podcast when you subscribe also helps other Eurovision fans find us. It's pretty great. We'll be back in 2 weeks to try and make sense of what's new in Eurovision.